What's up, everyone? I'm Lauren Dahlia, and welcome back to the OUTLAWS podcast, EP.1, Season 1. I'm so happy to be here in the aesthetic lab doing an episode for you guys. Oh my goodness. Let me take a sip of my Red Bull. I tell everyone I'm starting a podcast, and I don't. I just don't do it, and now I get to, and I'm so excited to be here in the studio in the beautiful space that I have. If you guys are not yet on my Instagram page, go check me out at Lauren M. Dahlia. Go check my YouTube channel out at Lauren Dahlia, and go check out the new podcast Instagram, Outlaws with Lauren Dahlia. You guys are going to see me in the space a lot, chilling, hanging out with friends, and you get to know me a little bit better, but hopefully we get super close with this podcast. So I'm so happy to be here. A little bit about me. I was born in Orlando, Florida, Seminole County, moved to Canada when I was a kid. I have great love for the United States, grew up kind of in and back and forth. Lots of traveling, the whole shebang, and I'm so happy to be here. So, yeah, I love the States. You're going to learn that about me. I consider myself a Southern belle. Am I? We don't know. We'll find out. But, yeah, thank you guys so much for coming along. And, yeah, let's start off the episode. So this week's episode, I wanted to call it Maybe Just Go Out. I'm going to talk about so much great stuff. Honestly, just kind of what it's like to have social anxiety and then, break free from that. And then also, the repercussions of, wait, when I go out, there's actually, drama involved, Because when you have almost social anxiety in a sense and you don't go out for, 2 years, genuinely, don't have, a solid friend group, you're not involved in as much drama. And then when, someone takes something you said wrong, because now you have a friend group that you actually have to, manage and put, stuff into relationships, you're like, wait. I have stuff to go on. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about lip gloss. Oh, my goodness. We're going to talk about my beauty faves and also just what I'm excited for coming up in the summer. But thank you guys so much for joining. Oh, my goodness. Oh, for me, let me tell you, Canada is I have this in between. Right now I'm staying in Kelowna. Downtown Kelowna is awesome, except the one thing is that I never realized living downtown in a place like Kelowna where it's just Bernard, that's that one strip. I feel like every time I go out, I have to get ready. I have to look my best. And I find that is so hard. For me, when it was a little bit colder, I was living there March, late night, I could go out 12:30, get my Red Bull, no one would be out. 12:30 now, it's May. Everyone's out at the bars, etc., etc. I'm not legal, but I'll walk down the street and see the college girls, etc., etc. I'll see them out, and I'm like, oh, I look messy. I'm in my pajama pants just going to the gas station trying to get me a snack, and I look all messy. So I never really realized that with just, living downtown has been super crazy, and, having those expectations on you to live not the expectation to live downtown, but the expectation that you have to look good is, I just never thought it from a place like Kelowna. Everyone always said, Kelowna's so materialistic. It's so materialistic. And for me, I grew up kind of not in the suburbs, but in a wealthier neighborhood, kind of up on a mountain. So when you went out, you looked nice, but it wasn't you could go out in your pajama pants and walk around the neighborhood and it'd be fun. But I feel sometimes even when you go into the more urban areas, it's a whole nother playing game. But I've been able to elevate my fashion with that, and I don't necessarily think it's a negative thing. I've been able to find confidence in kind of just a grunge streetwear aesthetic and tons of other different styles of fashion and art. So that makes me happy. I've been loving the thrift stores, just different stuff. And it's challenged me. So I like that a lot. Oh my goodness. Okay, so iced coffees. I think as a Canadian, we prioritize Tim Hortons iced coffees way too much. Everyone's prioritizing Tim Hortons iced coffees to be this big shebang thing, and oh my goodness, let me tell you, they're not. They're not the tea that hits the cake. They're not the soup that hits the bread. Starbucks iced coffees, on the other hand, let me tell you, if you sit in there while you're doing your schoolwork, you get a free refill. And I feel like no one prioritizes the free Starbucks refills. And I have to be in a very specific mood to drink an iced coffee in the first place, but I like the Starbucks iced coffees. And they're not as expensive as a regular Starbucks handcrafted drink. You can get a venti for like $4. So I don't know. I'm on the refill kick. I'm trying to save money. Finances are tough, but to be honest, I have gotten almost like an influx of finances from meeting people downtown and going out more and being able to like walk down the street. You know, if you want to get a bite to eat, you don't DoorDash. You walk down the street and you see people and they're like, "Hey, what do you do for work?" Blah blah. I tell them like I'm meeting people and I'm gaining. I don't know. It's weird to think that concept. I don't know who said it. I think it was Gary Vee. He was talking about going to, what was it? He was going, if you go to a restaurant for a month straight, every second day, you're going to start to know all of the employees. And they're going to get to know your name. They're going to get to know your regular order. And then eventually at one point it's just going to be at the sense where you won't have to go for a month, but one of the restaurant employees is going to know who you are. You're not going to have to go for 4 weeks, and someone's going to know who you are. Someone's going to know what you like to order, you know. So it's having that precedent of going out and having a social investment that's been so big for me. So I kind of learned that, and it wasn't even on purpose. One day I went out, I met someone who was like, "Hey, we have a lab space to create, and you can use your studio space." I'm meeting people. It's been so great, not only for my mental health, but for a business standpoint, which is so much what I want to talk about with the Outlaws podcast, is having this idea that we can have both. I was very much growing up at 12 years old. I knew I wanted to model. I knew I wanted to do social media. I knew I wanted to create all these things that I almost shut myself out from everybody else because of that. And I don't think that should have to happen. I really don't. And I didn't know that at a young age, especially because I was so young when I was like, okay, I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna have this career. And now here I am. And I was like, oh, I kind of missed out on like social stuff. But here I am having this balance, and also having like an influx of balance, that it's like explosion of creativity and happiness, because it's not like this is my job and this is just what I'm trying to pursue and chase after. It's like this is my kind of my explosion of happiness. So yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. I can't put it in any other way other than that. Oh my goodness, guys. Literally, I think, not literally, but I think there's been a weird thing for me personally. This is another thing that I've been like thinking about socially, is when I was going to school, it's not like I had a steady friend group. I was kind of a floater. I was definitely a floater. I had friends. Like, I don't think I was necessarily hard done by in my past like grade like 10, 11 years, but I was a floater. I'm not a social media person. I think social media is a career for me. I love social media, but not in the sense of Snapchat. I'm not want to keep streaks. My best friends list sometimes will have 3 people on it. I have very much like phone anxiety. I don't like texting people. I don't answer people back. People know that's Lauren for you. And I think that's why when I started to get like grade 9, 10, like 15, 16, 17 era, I didn't know how people were getting boyfriends. Didn't know. I was like, how y'all getting boyfriends? Snapchat. They're really Snapchatting, tick, 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 like photo, photo, photo. Also keep in mind, it's 2022. I have an iPhone 7. It's 2022 and I've had an iPhone 7. I've been able to create this like social media presence for myself. So I was like, no iPhone X for me. I just got an iPhone X like a week ago. I've had an iPhone 7 in 2022, 2021, like whole shebang. I've only had iPhone 6 and 7 my whole phone life, and like iPod. So for me, it's like Snapchat was not realistic and I just never used it. So it's just that weird in between where I'm like, now I'm going out and I'm meeting people normally. Like, I think, to be honest, I did have dating apps at a younger age. I had them at 17 and I would meet people responsibly. Kind of in a weird sense. But yeah, it was just weird. It was really, it's weird now to go out, you know, and like be in a coffee shop and a guy comes up and talks to you, and I think that's something with coming with maturity. You know, like, I'm 18 now. That's more of like an 18-year-old thing for, like, you know, like a college boy, or like, you know, like someone to come up to you and talk to you, where that's not necessarily like a middle schooler thing. And if it's a middle schooler thing, it's like at the mall. But I just grew up in that weird in between where it's like, you don't do that. Like, you ask them for your Snapchat. So I don't know. That's another thing that I don't think has necessarily been negative or positive. It was just, it's now for me, it's just this social kind of outburst of like meeting people and them not being from my school. Because right now I took a gap year. I didn't go to school all of grade 12 and I dropped out. I didn't drop out. I decided to do online halfway through grade 11. So I'm really in my gap year right now, traveling and meeting people, and I have to meet them in an organic way. And it's also interesting seeing what kind of energies I attract in certain places and that kind of stuff. And it's helped me, to be honest, to find myself, not in like, oh, what people see me as like my identity, and like the people that are coming to is my identity, and people that are interested in me are my identity. But almost in a sense where if this is the like organic people that are just coming to you, and I find that there are lots of times they're artists and they're creatives, I'm like, that's me. And it's interesting because that didn't always happen to me before. I wasn't meeting artists and creatives and likewise people, and it's like now I'm creating this circle of friends and people who I even knew, like people who were like related to me, like a dance teacher's son or whatever, like things like that. That's like this thing of creatives that were like mutual people who I would have never talked to socially, but now are coming into my life. Recently, I've been going to open mics at the Aesthetics Lab, and those have been so much fun. I'm running them now. Y'all should pull through. I love the Aesthetics Lab. I'd love to see more people there. But I'm running open mics right now, and for me, I never created art live. Like, I was a dancer, if you guys don't know, but creating art live is it's something different, because I just sit, and it's just like boom, 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 boom. I'm quoting Matthew McConaughey right now, but yeah, there's just so much exploding, and like those open mics have been so good for me to like be able to be like, what do you do? I'm a dancer. What do you do? You know, like when people ask me, instead of being like, oh yeah, I grew up a dancer, I don't have to vocalize it. I can show it and not show it on social media because I feel guilty sometimes. And the art and fashion community in Kelowna is so, in the Okanagan, in BC, in Canada, in the world, is so underrated. No one talks about art and fashion. It's like, these are the trends, you know, 2019, 2020, like Jordans, that's the trend, that's the fashion. That's not fashion. Now, spending 10 hours a day in an art studio, I'm like, there's people creating these looks and like organically pushing them out into, how many times am I going to say organically into this podcast? There's people creating these looks and like pushing things out, and that's what I was trying to get with the open mics, is like, it's not just like, this is it, like, okay, let's pick Jordan's going to be the trend. It's like, no, there's people organically creating these precedents that we stand to in fashion, just from something so little as like a space you rent out in your, like, you know, like in a studio, like a artist collective of like 19, 20, 18-year-old kids creating art and like selling their art pieces, and then that's how they get the ball rolling. So these companies, yes, they're pushing and they're making the mass production of these fashion rounds, but it's also like, who's influencing them in a small way? And that's something that I've been able to just grow appreciation for going out, and not even going out, but just like connecting with the artist community. And I thought I was connected with them, because for me, I've really realized like, saying you do it is one thing, and being like, oh, I'm an artist, I know this person and this person and this person who does this and this and this, dances and YouTube and podcast and clothes and whatever. Good friend Unknown the Reaper, Preston Yule, like, I've known him for years and years. Raps, I could be like, yeah, I'm in the music scene. I'm not. You're not. Like, I want to engulf the community. It's like, it's almost like oceans pouring over me of like, I don't know, just music and just stuff that I never really realized. But that's one thing, is that's really affected me is that thing that's like friendships. Once you're social, friendships get harder. And they get better, but they get harder. For me, I didn't realize for a long time that my friendships, I knew they were stale, but I didn't know why. And now that I've started to, branch out and go out more and be living downtown in a place where I can just walk out and see people and hang out with people, it's like more drama comes. And maybe that's why I took myself away from the friendship scene and the like social scene, because I wasn't hanging out with people. I was terribly anxious to the point where I'd get nauseous, and that happened to me last night. It just it felt like I was in middle school again. It was like nothing's going on. Like no one is, holding me for ransom. No one is what's going on? Why is my body reacting this way like it used to when I was going to school full time? I had friend groups, or quote unquote friend groups. My middle school years were hard, but I don't think, now it's not hard. That's not the equivalent, but why is my body reacting like this? And it's because I don't think I ever taught myself how to deal or, manage, friendship conflict, and not even conflict, just social situations, because when I was put into it, I was put into it at such an extreme rate that I just isolated myself for years, and I had very select few friends, and then other than that, I had extreme isolation from the world. Not a lot of people know a lot about me. I'm very open on my socials, but I'm also very stale. It's the broad extreme situations. I overshare to undershare, if that makes sense. So now I've realized I'm oh my goodness, I have to reteach myself that when there's situations in friend groups oh, I didn't really like what that person said, that's not a reason for me to my body to react to get nauseous to the point where I can't stop throwing up. It's wait, that's not what this is. In order to have friends, in order to interact with people in a positive way, in a way that keeps flourishing and is more than just let's go for coffee every few months, there's going to be conflict. And I don't think it's not that I don't do well with conflict. It's just like I said, in grade 7 and 8 and 9, that's when I started to go into high school and things started happening. I had terrible family life growing up, terrible home life. And then I experienced that at such an extreme rate. My body only knows the worst of the worst. And then I isolated myself, and I never knew the moderate of what a normal friend group is like. So now when I see, I'm really when I hear my friend being mad at someone, I'm it's an explosion of emotions. And that was something I've really realized. And I don't know, I'm just so happy. I'm almost thankful in a way. I'm thankful that I saw that and realized that, because I don't think I ever would have if I didn't maybe just go out. I'm gonna read off my goals for the week, I think, and then we're gonna end it off with on a little positive note. I'm falling back into music and real music, and just not listening to the same hip hop every day. I love hip hop. I have so much respect for it, but sometimes when I just feel I'm listening to the TikTok radio tunes, I've fallen back in love with music that I'm Harry Styles' self-titled album, and not a stan way I stan Harry Styles, in a this music is beautiful way, and I'm just gonna listen to it. Yeah, that's something that's not an affirmation but a thankfulness. My to-do list this week is so not work orientated but creation orientated. So I'm super happy with that. I want to have this podcast planned out. I want to post a vlog. I want to renew my Canva subscription so I can start, fiddling around with graphic design. I want to open my Etsy store, things like that. And yeah, I'm so happy and I'm so excited. For my affirmations and for affirmations this week, I believe that we are deserving of community. So I'm deserving of community. And you're deserving of community. I'm deserving of a full stomach, and you're deserving of a full stomach. I want every day and the rest of the days for us to have bellies with full food and tummies and smiles. I'm deserving of laughter and happiness and joy, and I want to come home, and I want everyone listening to this podcast to be able to come home and after a night not feel guilty about laughter and joy and yummy food. I'm deserving of self-care, not in the sense that it's like face masks, but being able to walk out and feel clean. Just taking a shower, things like that. Getting, a simple Walmart body wash and just cleaning yourself, like things like that. Not necessarily face masks and serums, but literally just like taking time to, get a new loofah and, wash your body. Things like I deserve to walk out and feel clean and not feel like I have cleansing products plastered on me, but just feel clean. Thank you guys so much for listening to my first episode of Outlaws podcast. I guess I never really explained the name of it, but I just think that I really want to break away from the mold of not that girl, because I love that girl like aesthetic and all this different stuff, but just I feel like Outlaws is someone that everyone wants to be but no one knows how to be. There's no like this is what an outlaw is, and for me that's what I want to be able to create, is finding my own self. That's like I'm constantly chasing a new better version of myself, not in a way that it's like, oh, I need that, but just a mysterious sense of the unknown, and I'm so excited. So thank you guys so much for watching my podcast or listening in on whatever device you're listening in on. My name is Lauren Dahlia. You can follow me on my Instagram at Lauren M. Dahlia. You can look at my YouTube, Lauren Dahlia, or you can subscribe to the Outlaws podcast on YouTube at Outlaws Podcast. You can also check out the Instagram and click through the Instagram link to look at the podcast as well through YouTube. I'm trying to get it off on Spotify and all that good stuff. So thank you guys so much for listening. Have a super awesome rest of your day, evening, night, and life. Bye-bye!